What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. No Red Room this morning. Few technical difficulties means you're left with me. You're left with me. So yes, we are here to talk about Manchester United news, transfer news, a little bit about Anthony Martial. I mean, I can't say I'm surprised. I'm not angry. I'm full on parent settings. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. Yeah, I'm very much not surprised when it comes to Anthony Martial, it must be said. But we're going to get into that. We're going to be talking a little bit about Neymar. The Neymar to Manchester United transfer rumours refuse to go away. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit too. We'll touch on a little bit about Wout Weghorst and Marcel Sabitzer, two players currently on loan at Manchester United until the end of the season. Of course, now that the end of the season is upon us, are their moves going to be made permanent? The answer is no. The spoiler, the answer is no. They are not going to be made permanent. We'll talk a little bit about that. A little bit more on the goalkeeping situation. Dean Henderson, Nottingham Forest, wanted to make that loan deal permanent as well. And some other bits and pieces. Benjamin Pavard being linked to Manchester United. He's got a year left on his contract at Bayern Munich. Now, I've been working on my pronunciation with this, by the way, guys. Yeah, you know me. When it comes to transfer season, once we start getting into sort of transfer territory, what have I got to do? Got to start learning some pronunciations. I got to start learning some player names, and I've got to start getting it right. So Ugarte, I think that's the way to do it. But then I'm not sure if it's Manuel, probably Manuel Ugarte from Sporting Lisbon. We're gonna try. We're gonna work on that one. Last year it was very much Benjamin Šeško. And etc. So we're going to be working on that. It's a busy morning, so be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well. Bottom right hand corner, super chat already from WJ Barrett says, "I've always said Martial is a digestive. I'm tired. I'm tired too." WJ Barrett. These 9 a.m. shows, people always say, "Oh, you always look really tired in the morning," and the answer is because I am. I am not a morning person. You've seen the late night view streams. You've seen the evening streams with me. That's when I'm at my peak. Morning Owen is a difficult one. By the end of the show, I do wake up. And lots of people say, "Oh, Owen, you got right, really." I'm one of those people. I'll wake up and my eyes are practically closed for like 3 hours. So bear with that. But be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner as well. A couple of let's see. Look, and this is what I get from my co-workers as well. Laughter at me. He is the disgrace. He is the cheat. See what some of you guys are saying as well in the chat. Daniel Luciano says, "Morning UV fan, morning Owen." Good morning. I saw as well. This piqued my attention, and I will get to the news. But I saw Starlord's in the chat, the OG UVMC member, Starlord. But then I also saw Rockets in the chat, and I thought, what's going on? We've got like 2/5 of the Guardians of the Galaxy in the UV community, and they're both members as well. And I'm assuming they're both separate people. So we've got to get a Gamora in. We've got to get a Drax in. We've got to get a Mantis in. We've got to get a Nebula in. Yondu, rest in peace. We got to get him in as well. Who else? We've got Cosmo. I mean, that's a dog. But, there's Kraglin. We've got to get some more Guardians in. Yeah, we've got to get some more Guardians of the Galaxy in. So there you go. Anyway, we're going to get to Anthony Martial. Anthony Martial is missing the FA Cup final. This was a story that broke quite late last night. It was reported by several journalists like Laurie Whitwell, Simon Stone, and then Manchester United released an official statement themselves on the club website, saying, and it was very brief, Anthony Martial is out of Saturday's Emirates FA Cup final against Manchester City due to injury. The France internationals strained his hamstring towards the end of Sunday's 2-1 win against Fulham at Old Trafford. Assessments have since revealed a muscle tear that rules the 27-year-old out of the Wembley showdown. Now, I spoke about this ages ago, that one of my conspiracy theories, tinfoil hat was firmly on, was that because Anthony Martial will not have completed 90 minutes in a game this season. And I don't think he would have done that had he have been available for the FA Cup final on Saturday. But still, he has not completed 90 minutes this season. And part of my rationale about it at one point was, maybe he's not completing 90 minutes because what you don't want, if you want to move a player on in the summer, what you really don't want is you don't want him to get injured. And now, not only is Martial missing the FA Cup final, but two, who would pick him up in the summer? Who would pick Martial up in the summer at this point? Yes, he has scored goals this season, but he might not even be available for a transfer because he might be injured. And it's not the first time he's done this season as well. This is just, I really don't want to kick someone when they're down. I'm sure he's very disappointed and I'm sure he's very upset that he's missing the FA Cup final. But so are we all. So are we all. And this isn't even the first time. He didn't even play. I think he played like 20 minutes against Fulham. He came on in like the 60-something minute. And now he's torn his hamstring. He's got a muscle tear in his hamstring. And they don't repair very quickly. That's probably a couple of months, maybe even more. So let's say, we're basically in June at this point. So let's say July, August. He might not even be on the tour. Let's face it. Is he going to be fit in time, 2 and a bit months for the tour? I don't know. July, actually. Scrap that. Is he going to be ready in about 6 weeks? Probably not. He's probably not going to be ready in 6 weeks' time for tour. How much of preseason is he going to participate in? Participate in. It's early. And what does that mean about possibly being moved on in the summer? We saw it last season when people like, I found it very convenient. People like Brandon Williams and those other players, Twanzebe, Phil Jones, he was a king for this. Every time the transfer window rolled around, I got an injury. I can't go anywhere. I can't go anywhere. I'm injured. So that means Martial, is he going to get moved along in the summer? Probably not, because he's going to be spending the majority of his summer rehabbing. And then in terms of the more immediate future, we needed him. We needed him Saturday. When he played 45 minutes against City at Old Trafford earlier this year in January. And even then, and this just sums up Martial this season, even then, he was a doubt going into that game. And frankly, he probably shouldn't have played. If you listen to Ten Hag, he said, this was Martial. Anthony really wanted to play. He really wanted to play. He only had 45 minutes in him. He really wanted to play. And he played 45 minutes and he played well. He played well for 45 minutes in that game. And when he came off, it was noticeable, wasn't it? He came off and that's when City went 1-0 up in the second half. And everyone said we really lost our shape and our structure and we weren't the same side. And it took us a while to recover. And Ten Hag had to make some subs at the time, I think. Who did he bring on? He made the sub for Martial at halftime, and I forget who it was, and it didn't really work. And then eventually Rashford went up front and all this kind of stuff. And eventually we went on to win that match. But we needed him Saturday. We needed to have the focal point up front, and you want to have Rashford off the left-hand side. That's where his best position is. And you want to have the strongest side possible. But it just goes to show this is the overwhelming problem with Anthony Martial. You cannot rely on him. He is unreliable. You can't guarantee he is going to play. And even going into the game, if he was fit and available to play, you couldn't rely on him to play 90 minutes or 120 plus penalties. You can't because you know his body. The fact that we were at points this season having to accommodate him as well by going, how many games we got this week? We've got 2 games. Well, Anthony Martial, he can only play one of them. Maybe he can play 45 minutes in each. That's a problem in itself. So, I think I can't say that I speak for everyone because I would never say that because I don't. Everyone's got their own opinions and all that kind of stuff. But when I got the news last night, when I read the news, someone picked up the phone. It was Martial. Owen, I'm injured. Oh, piss off, Anthony. When I read the news last night, I was actually talking to Josh at the time, and I just went, I'm just so done. I really am. I'm so done with all of this because this is our biggest game of the season, and it's just confirmation of someone that we knew we couldn't rely on anyway. We definitely can't rely on him, and it just further goes to show, doesn't it, that when it comes to summer transfer plans, we don't need one striker. Forget people going, we need just KG. I see you in the chat. One striker away. We need 2. We need 2 strikers. Not only do we need the striker that we haven't had this season, but we need another one to replace Anthony Martial or to replace him when he's not there, because he's not going to be there most of the time. And it is sad. I don't want to come across as being cold, callous, and cruel at 9:12 in the morning, but there can't be a lot of room for sentiment when it comes to this. And I see this a lot. And there are those cases of really talented footballers. Because make no mistake, Anthony Martial is a talented footballer. But there are those cases of those footballers that have talent, but their body cannot hold up to the rigors of elite level sport and professional sport, and they get injured all the time. And eventually they become a liability to their employers. Because Anthony Martial is being paid handsomely. Anthony Martial is being relied upon to do a job this season, and he can't do it. And that's really unfortunate. But unfortunately, when it comes to United, they've got to go, well, that can't be our problem. We've got to just say, sorry, we've got to replace you. It's not a question of ability, but as people say, the best availability is availability. And as Ten Hag said recently about scoring goals, he said, when Martial plays, we play better football. And we do. But to score goals, you've got to play. You've got to be available. I mean, even putting this injury aside, the fact that he's missing the FA Cup final, putting that aside, the fact that we've got 1 game left of the season and he hasn't played 90 minutes. And the reason he hasn't played 90 minutes is because he can't. That's a massive problem. That is from Manchester United. That is unacceptable. You cannot tolerate that. It's just it's crazy. It really is. I did see Mr. the Comedian in the chat saying, KG that comedian says Garnacho and Sancho must start now. So you would say Rashford through the middle, which I would agree with. I would think if Anthony is fit, then we might be looking at Rashford, Sancho, and Anthony. However, Anthony still might not be fit. I mean, for Ten Hag saying that, Anthony should be available for the final, he was still on crutches on Sunday. But Bruno Fernandes was in. Remember when we were all freaking out that Bruno was injured because his wife put a picture on Instagram of him laying down and he was in one of those sort of boots and his feet were up in the air and everyone's going, Bruno's injured. And then he played the next game. So they could just be very, very protective and, ensuring that with every possibility that Anthony could play. So I just don't know about Garnacho. Garnacho starting the FA Cup final. And I'm a huge, huge fan of Garnacho. I think the sky truly is the limit when it comes to him. I just think that's a bit much. And again, I prefer him to be that impact player. As Nikhil said, what about the answer to the right-hand side? KG, that comedian. Yeah, exactly. KG, that comedian, going very quiet. I mean, to be honest, I would expect a phone call from him any second because he said school's out. So I wonder what KG, that comedian, is doing on this fine Wednesday morning. WJ Barrett, also with the super chat here, says, Owen, there is a video going around of Erik ten Hag's fan address at the end of the match at Old Trafford of him clutching his hammy in mid-speech. It's madness. Yeah, I did see that this morning. Ten Hag's talking to the crowd there, and you see Martial standing there, and he's sort of just, it's not even, I wouldn't even say clutching's the right word. He's sort of rubbing it. He's sort of going, oof, oof. And I guess it's like boy who cried wolf. You never know with Martial. I mean, I remember going back to, I think was it the Reading game in the FA Cup? I think it was that game where he came on and he played maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and he scored because he usually does when he comes on as well. He scored, and then we were like, brilliant. And I think it was one of the first times we had seen Martial, Rashford, Bruno, and Sancho all in the same team at the same time since pre-season. Because remember, that was the lineup. That was the front four coming out of pre-season. That was the front four that we were all going, wow, they looked amazing. They looked so fluid. Rashford wasn't even at his best in pre-season, but Sancho looked sharp. Martial looked really sharp. Bruno was, threading passes, getting assists, getting goals, and everyone, we were going into to the Premier League season saying, this looks good. I'm excited about this. And then we never saw them play together, basically, because from day dot this season, from the very first game, this thing has happened. You remember? Excitement. We've had a good preseason. Erik ten Hag, Brighton at home. Day before we played Brighton, or on the Friday. It was on the Sunday, the game. So on the Friday press conference, Martial's injured. And everyone went, what? He's injured? And then since then, it's just been knee injury, hip injury, back injury, hamstring injury. And that's also my concern too. If it was one injury, he just had a bad knee, then you would go, he's got a bad knee, but they can fix this. They can get this fixed. These are all different injuries. His body is not holding up. His body is breaking down. I mean, there's luck, and then there's something where you go, well, this can't be just a coincidence at this point. Something isn't working. And also, you've got to look at Ten Hag and his medical team. They've done their very best to manage this guy throughout the season. You look at an example like Rafael Varane. They identified that this guy has an issue with a heavy load of football. If you push him too hard, he'll break down. So they managed to find workarounds. They said, we're not going to play him every single game. We're going to play him maybe once a week, sometimes twice if he's needed, but we'll manage it. We'll manage him. And Varane, most of the time, he still picked up a couple of injuries, one just before the World Cup, and obviously the one against Sevilla, which was an injury going into that game. But he came back fairly quickly. He's available for the FA Cup final. He's been available the last couple of games. And they've managed him well this season. His injuries have been significantly reduced this season because they've been able to manage him. They identified the problem and said, okay, it's just a load thing. We'll make sure we manage that. They've tried that with Martial, and it ain't working. He's still breaking down. And again, he's still not playing 90 minutes. It's not as if this guy's playing 2 games a week and he's breaking down. He's breaking down after 20 minutes. That's, again, I don't, there can't be any room for sentiment, really, when it comes to United now, when it comes to the decision-making about Martial, because it's over. It just is. Say says, Owen, it's irresponsible to allude players are getting injured in the summer deliberately. I mean, to be honest, say it's somewhat facetious. But okay, you can't rule anything out. I mean, it's light-hearted entertainment show this morning, see. But appreciate the super chat as always. What else are people saying in the chat too? Joe Blackman, stay now, says Martial doesn't deserve Ten Hag's attention. He's broken, fam, broken. What else we got here? Simon says they call him Mr. Glass. Paul Lucas says we should play a false 9. Rashford, Bruno, Sancho. Al Max says, would you prefer James Maddison or Mason Mount in the battle of overrated, overpriced English players? They'll both definitely be on the move this summer, certainly as well. Oh, yes, I saw this as well. Big up KG because just also as well. I saw there was a Nike advert on social media. I don't know if you've seen this, but KG's gone very clear. Yeah, not only is he Mr. Getty Images, not only is he actor extraordinaire, stand-up extraordinaire, not only is he Mr. That Comedian, he's in a Nike advert, yeah? A Nike advert. And he's getting a selfie of Sam Kerr. If you haven't gone and seen it, go on to KG's Twitter profile, at KG That Comedian. And yeah, it's unbelievable. This guy, I mean, he's very difficult to get a hold of anyway, KG. There you go. KG in an iCAD. It's true. It's true. Check it out. It's excellent. And whilst you're there, go to his channel. Be sure to like and subscribe to his channel as well. And you become a member soon. I think he's doing KG versus the world in FIFA. He's been training. He's been cutting off the passing lanes. I've heard this. I saw that yesterday with my eyes in person. Although when I got there, they win their last game when I was there? I think they did yesterday. Good for them. We've got nearly 1,000 people watching. How many likes have we got so far this morning? Right, I say we can get 500 likes. We can get 500 likes now. And if we get it early, then I don't have to ask you again. It's just, it's out the way. It's done. No problem. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner. And Blue Dabba Dabba says, who doesn't enjoy a cold-hearted Owen in the morning? What, referring to the Martial thing being cold-hearted? I just think, again, it's... What was you guys' initial reaction to that? When you heard the news, whether it was last night, whether it was this morning, what's your initial reaction to it? Is it one of sympathy and upset for Martial? Which, look, when I take a step back, I do sympathize, obviously, but at the same time, you do have to sort of go like, come on. Like, and maybe more fool us, because I suppose we shouldn't be surprised, really. I mean, when that news came out, was I surprised? No, I wasn't surprised. I was angry, but I was just like, because again, maybe the fault is on us. You know, why are you relying on someone that is unreliable? You know, SJ says, I sighed. Simon said, typical. Mark said, not again. Joe says Martial needs to leave. Disappointed, a United supporter. All Elite says, I thought it was Groundhog Day. Bill Murray settings. Well, it's Groundhog Day. It's such a good film as well. I love Groundhog Day. It's because it's really sad. And actually, it gets, as it goes on, it gets way more existential than you would think. And I do like that they went down that route. It's very, very good. If you haven't ever watched it, Groundhog Day, excellent. And this is me talking, and I've barely seen any films. Matt says, shame on us. Ashley says, still a good player. And look, it's not to say that he's not a good player as well, but it almost bothers me sometimes when I used to listen to Arsenal fans say that about Jack Grealish, or Liverpool fans say it about like Daniel Sturridge. Sort of those players that they go, yeah, but on their day, they're brilliant. On their day, they're excellent. But their day doesn't come around that often. And their day's never here. And eventually, it always ends up in the same direction. You look historically at those players like that, like Andy Carroll, those players where people go, yeah, but he's good, but he's injured all the time. He's just injured all the time. But if he can get past that, it'll come. They never come back. They don't. Like, I feel bad for him. But look at like Jack Wilshere. What happened in the end? He ended up retiring. What happened with Daniel Sturridge? What happened in the end? I don't know. I don't even know if he's got a club at the moment. I know he's been doing some stuff on Sky. But like, unfortunately, the evidence is there to suggest that eventually they don't get over it. They don't. And eventually just enough becomes enough and they have to stop, not retire, or they have to go somewhere else. I mean, Wilshere ended up going to, was it Bournemouth in the end, or West Ham? You know, they just, Wilshere. Yeah, it's early. It is early. I did mean Wilshere. But that's the point. And then you would hear those fans all the time go, yeah, but this game, like, remember with Jack Wilshere, they go, yeah, but remember Barcelona at home. Barcelona at home that time in the Champions League, which, by the way, Arsenal lost that tie. So it's just one game of a tie that they lost as well. Like, we used to say it as well. I saw someone in the chat there. Doka says, Louis Saha, yes, he's great, but he just gets injured. Like, eventually, you have so many chances, and it becomes enough's enough, really, you know? And the best ability is availability. So there you go. What does it mean for him in the summer? Again, I actually think it probably puts a stop to him moving in the summer, really. I think Ten Hag might have kind of washed his hands of him anyway. But when a player's injured, it's really difficult to move on an injured player, honestly. So we'll see what happens when it comes to Martial, certainly. We've got plenty of other things to get into this morning as well. When it does come to the FA Cup final, we'll have plenty of coverage and build-up into the game this Saturday at Wembley. Obviously, we'll have match previews, press conferences. You saw Fleck talking to AWB at Carrington. You've also, I don't know if that was put out there. I think Flex did say about the shirt and all that. So a shirt is coming as well. So keep an eye out for it. Yeah, keep an eye out for it. Follow us on all of our socials at United View TV on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and you'll be able to keep up to date on all of that kind of stuff. So yes, very, very exciting stuff. What else we got to talk about this morning? Neymar. Wow. Neymar, the rumors of Neymar to Manchester United continue. This time it comes from Santi Auna, who does work for Football Mercato. Yes. And he has said that Neymar has partnerships / contracts with Qatar and the Qatar brand. These relationships favor a possible signature to Manchester United if the club is bought by Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani. Neymar's idea is to continue in Europe for the moment. He is, and this was a quote, seduced by Manchester United and can only be seen there or at PSG. So he's been seduced by the Red of Manchester and dreams of playing there for United next season. I really don't think we sign Neymar, and I don't think we should as well. I think that for me, again, I've said this before. I think Flex and myself did a show. When did we do it? Was it last week? They all kind of blur into one. And I think the thumb was like, surely not, or something like that. And the reason why is because signing Neymar would be so typical of United like 3 or 4 years ago when it's an Ed Woodward signing. You know, it's a signing that has got a huge commercial aspect to it, which would make it really attractive to someone like an Ed Woodward. But on the footballing side of things, and again, you have to really make this explicitly clear, I am not saying that Neymar is bad. Yeah, I'm not saying that Neymar is shit. I'm not saying that Neymar is terrible. I'm not saying you'd rather have Scott McTominay than Neymar. Is that what you, Owen? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that? Are you saying that David Bellion's better than Neymar? Is that what you're trying to explain to me? Kleberson is a better Brazilian football than Neymar. Is that what you're trying to say? No, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just trying to say that we don't need to deal with the circus. We don't need to deal with the finances involved in that. We don't need that. That's not the signing that we need. And that's going to take up a lot of money. Even if it is a loan, it's just we don't need that. We don't. A 31-year-old Neymar, who also has his injury troubles, and this is what I find quite funny, is for all of the talk about Harry Kane gets injured a lot when he doesn't. He hasn't picked up an injury since 2021. Neymar, every year gets injured. Every year. And he doesn't get as injured as Martial. But the point being is, it's not a good move for United to do. And if we were getting Neymar of 5 years ago, I'd be like, oh, of course. Why wouldn't you? One of the best players in the world. I mean, for a period of time, it felt like in world football, certainly, it went like Ronaldo, Messi, and then Neymar was the third. If anything, that's why Neymar left Barcelona to go to PSG, because he wanted to step out of the shadow of Lionel Messi, and he wanted to be that guy that could get a Ballon d'Or and get all the accolades and all that kind of stuff. The irony is that, one, if anything, once he moved to PSG, he just went down the pecking order in terms of world football. And on top of that, Messi even ended up going to PSG. So he went back in his shadow. And then Kylian Mbappe came through. So I don't think United should do it. And two, I really don't think they would. I don't. I think that, I mean, unless it was kind of a situation whereby Sheikh Jassim did take us over and we'd already got all of the signings that we needed to get. We'd signed 2 new strikers, because again, we need two new strikers, a midfielder, a centre-back, a right-back, and then like last day of the transfer window, they go, screw it, let's just get Neymar on loan or something like that. Then maybe you might look at that as just, well, it's a cherry on top, whatever. But even then, I'd be like, wow, I suppose if you got the Qatari money, you go, well, who cares? Like, doesn't matter. But yeah, I don't see it. And two, I just think, for me, it feels like representatives and intermediaries of Neymar really forcing this deal, pushing this deal. And you hear this a lot. And get ready, folks, because we lived through it last summer. And we lived through it every single summer. It's already started. You get the stories out there going, look, United don't have a ton of money to spend this summer. There's about 100 million. On top of that, they've got a sale to buy. So it's not, don't expect the spending that was there last summer, et cetera, et cetera. And then on the other hand, we're linked to everyone. Already, we're linked to everyone. I think already we've been linked to like 25 players, because that's what agents do. That's what intermediaries do. You know, Neymar, his camp isn't stupid. If PSG, do we want to move Neymar on? Let's just say United. Someone will come in for us. Someone will do something. Even if not, even if we ended up getting a new contract at PSG, if we say we're going to United, maybe that might make something happen or something like that. I don't see it. I could see Neymar going to like a Chelsea or something like that. I mean, I know it's not really in their sort of transfer policy of buying 1 million young players on 50-year contracts, but given how wild Todd Bowley is, who even knows at this point? But Neymar to PSG, to Manchester United, sorry, I think that's, I wouldn't see that at all. No. All Elite says the reports are the liars. Where are the players? Knight says he's still got 2 years left on his contract as well. Ahmet says Neymar's crap and a waste of wage. So that's what I mean. I wouldn't say he's crap. You know, I wouldn't say anything like that. But we need to be smarter and we need to be better in terms of our business. Again, we've gone through the Galactico phase of United. We've gone through the Ed Woodward franchise player, Harlem Globetrotter stage, and it didn't work. I mean, at one point, you forget this. In Louis van Gaal's first season at United, we had Robin van Persie, Wayne Rooney, Angel Di Maria. Who was the other one? I remember there was a team that started against Leicester at when we lost like 5-3, and it was the front line. Oh, Falcao, that was it. We had our front four was Rooney, Van Persie, Di Maria, Falcao, and you would go, "Oh my God, like that's crazy." And we still lost that game, and we still didn't really do all that much that season. We finished third, I think, in the Premier League. It wasn't too bad, but by the end of the season, Falcao's gone, Di Maria's gone. You know, because and look at PSG as an example. That model of, again, the Harlem Globetrotter megastar model doesn't work. Look at Real Madrid all of those years when it came to the Galacticos. You know, that we talk about it to this day, Beckham, Zidane, Figo, etc. But realistically, like they still didn't win a ton of titles or league titles during that period of time. They didn't win Champions Leagues really during that time. They won the one with Zidane with the volley. And then they didn't win La Decima for ages after that because it doesn't work. It's not about franchise marquee players. You can have one or two in your team, but you can't have a team of them because it just does not work. But as Paul Lucas says, Neymar would sell a lot of shirts. And if it was Ed Woodward still around, that's all he would care about. I mean, if it was Ed Woodward, I'd be like, this deal's happening. But thankfully, he's not around anymore. So there you go. So, yeah, when it comes to Neymar, I think that one's very unlikely. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Over 1,000 people watching. Still, we're not even halfway to 500 likes. We're less than 250. And I mean, do we need to go on strike? Do we need to get Mr. Phelan in? Does this need to happen? And for the likes to go up? I mean, I don't know. Honestly, the amount of pictures that are in the back end here is kind of nuts. You've got that. Still KG with hair, was tremendous. And look who's looking over him. Look who's looking at him. Martial. Martial's looking at him as if to say, look, mate, I'm going to let you down. We're going to get to the FA Cup final and hamstring's going to tear. And I love bold Martial looking at KG with painted hair as if to say, like, what's going on there? What else have we got in the back end here? We've got Marcel looking at his Marcel. Is it? Yeah, Dubravka. Yeah. We've got Warsaw. Warsaw's another Warsaw. We've got Kevin the Carrot because of the saturated KG. We've got Incredible Hulk KG as well. And this was what I was referring to earlier about the signed shirt. So I believe there are several signatures on that shirt, not just the Ghost, the Wraith, the Phantom, Raphael Varane. I believe there's other signings on that shirt. So again, that's going to be coming soon. So keep an eye out for that. That video and all that kind of stuff hasn't gone up just yet, but the best way to make sure you don't miss it is to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, click the notification bell. You'll be notified every time a video goes up or we go live, and you can find out the details as to how to win that shirt, how to get that shirt. Not only could you be celebrating a Manchester United FA Cup final victory, but you could also be celebrating a shirt, a signed shirt. Oh, that could be very exciting. So yes, that's still to come in the future. What are we up now when it comes to likes? I mean, we're halfway, 262. I mean, I know I'm, not as energetic as maybe as I should be in the morning, but very slow on the likes this morning. I mean, Neymar, slow horse. Well, the only people slow here are the people clicking the likes this morning. I mean, but that's just me. 30 away from 300. Captain America said, I could do this all day. I can wait. I'm that teacher. When teachers used to say that, they go, I'll keep you after. You're meant to go home at 3:00. I'll keep you here till 5. I got nothing else to do. I'll wait all day, which is a lie. I don't think they could legally keep you that long. And eventually they would break, really. So I mean, 3, they can't keep you to 5 or anything like that. So we just used to stay, and then eventually they would let you go. Because, that used to always happen. Fine. If you're not going to be quiet, I don't have to let you go. That bell ringing just to let me know that I can let you go later on. But it's not really. I mean, you have to let me go. That's what the bell's for. And then eventually would leave. So, but shout out teachers. 10 likes to go until 300 now. So we're on our way. We're on our way. But I'll check back in. I'm going to check back in for it as well. What else have we got to talk about this morning? Yes, the loan signings at Manchester United. The signings that came to the club in January, that being Wout Weghorst and Marcel Sabitzer. According to Mail Sport, Manchester United will not make the loan deals of Wout Weghorst and Marcel Sabitzer permanent this summer. Good. And not really a shock, really. The Wout Weghorst one, I mean, his miss at the weekend, I think kind of says it all. But I'm not going to dunk on him too much. The reason I'm not going to dunk on him too much is because I still say this now. I think he exceeded expectations at United. I really do. I think that we got what we paid for, which is not a lot. What did the loan cost? 3 million total. I think maybe even less than that. I don't know. And for a period of time there, we want to talk about Martial this morning. We want to talk about Martial missing the FA Cup final. We want to talk about Martial not being available for a time in which we really needed someone up front and we really needed someone to be available. Wout Weghorst was available at a time in which Cristiano Ronaldo had left because he had spoken to Piers Morgan. I'm not going to Saudi Arabia. And then he goes to Saudi Arabia. Then you've got Anthony Martial, never available, injured all the time. I'm going to carry the burden this season. I'm going to score goals. Erik ten Hag believes in me. Now I'm injured all the time. Wout Weghorst came in and was available. Now, did he score goals? No. He didn't score goals. He scored against Forest and he scored against Real Betis. But his work rate and his work ethic, I think, should be applauded. And in some games, he was important. You can't overlook when we played Barcelona at the Nou Camp and at Old Trafford. He was important in those games. Old Trafford, he came off at half-time, I think, because he was a bit shit. But in the Nou Camp, when he dropped back into the 10, that kind of freaked Barcelona out. And we played well against them. So I'm not sure what people's expectations really, truly were for Wout Weghorst. I mean, this is a guy who's on loan at Besiktas. He's from Burnley. And I really don't know what's going to happen with him next season because seeing how Burnley play, he really don't fit at all at Burnley under Vincent Kompany. But I'm not going to slag him off too much because we needed someone and we didn't have any money. And I don't think you can fault effort. At United, you need more than effort. You need quality as well. But honestly, I'm not gonna slander him too much. Again, he shouldn't stay, and United aren't going to make sure that he stays. He's going to go. But he's come to the club. He won a Carabao Cup, and he's going to be involved in the FA Cup final as well. So I don't think he's not going to play, he's not going to start rather. But again, I'm not going to dunk on him too much. Marcel Sabitzer. I was saying this early on, yeah, and again, I praise United a lot for this signing, and again, I think he did what was needed of him. He came in at a time where Christian Eriksen got injured against Reading in the FA Cup, really, really late in January, last day of the window. We've got no money. We get Sabitzer on loan from Bayern Munich, and we couldn't have really asked for much more than that, given the financial situation and circumstances that we found ourselves in. Sabitzer came in. I was happy with the signing. I did feel like, and I feel like sometimes United fans can do this, where he made a couple of his early appearances, a couple of cameo appearances where he would come on or he started. I forget which way around that happened. But I saw a lot of reaction on social media of, this is the midfielder we've been looking for. Oh, I've fallen in love with this midfielder. Oh, Sabitzer came on and he was classed. And I was sort of, did he? Did he though? I don't know. There was a big enough sample size to tell if he did in those early cameo appearances. When he played, he did okay. He did fine. He scored a really good goal against Fulham. That one where I don't know how he managed to sort of get it into the net. It's kind of behind him, but he was okay. He was okay. I myself did not see anything from Marcel Sabitzer that absolutely blew me away, like completely blew me away. It's not to say that he's bad or anything like that, but in a summer where, again, money's somewhat tight and the money that we do spend, I think has to be on the appropriate players. I know they're saying Sabitzer might be available for 20 million, but just because he's better than what we've got, I don't think is a good enough rationale to keep him. I think that there are also plenty of other players that aren't currently at the club that are better than what we've got, and they're better than Sabitzer, and we should be going for them as well. And also as well, he's been here since January, and he's had a few injuries too, and that's a red flag as well. So I think that's the appropriate move on both parts. Definitely for Weghorst. And again, Sabitzer, he came in and did what was asked of him. Again, too many injuries for my liking. Was okay, but even from the start, I wasn't going to go, I wasn't blown away by him or anything like that. But I'm not going to say he was horrible. He was bad. He was okay. I felt that he was kind of average. But I don't think we should be in the territory of just recruiting average players because they're better than what we've got. We can do better. We can do better. So I think that's the appropriate move. And of course, Sabitzer's done. He's got a knee injury, and that's him done for the season anyway. So he's not going to be involved at the weekend as well. What do you think about Weghorst and Sabitzer? Would you have kept any of them? Let me know your thoughts as well in the live chat. Almac says Sabitzer is probably on the same level as Mason Mount, bang average. Or Elite says good is not good enough. Gravenberch is better than Sabitzer and the same price tag. Vegeta says not mad that we're not keeping our loan players. Maki says Martial such disappointment. still talking about Martial. Theo says Neymar is the answer to everything. He'll raise the level of the team, and he's well respected already by his fellow countrymen. And then Rashford and Sanch, it works perfectly. I don't care what anyone says. Well, Theo doesn't care what anyone says. I just think that we can't get no. Neymar's not the answer to anything. I'm sure Neymar is the answer to something, but I don't think it's the questions that Manchester United are asking. So yeah, it's a no from me when it comes to Neymar as well. We're currently at 307 in terms of the likes. I told you I'm going to keep checking back in. We're going to get to 500. We're going to get to 500 today. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Theo Hines has been a member for 3 months. Says, have to use my members chat for this. You man are crazy to say no to Neymar, but yes to a man like Mount. We get him at all costs. He's world class. Well, you know what, Theo, and obviously appreciate the members chat and appreciate 3 months of support as always. And look, it's always about opinions. I'm not going to be one of those people that says your opinion's different than mine. Get out of here. But this is what I was kind of joking about earlier when apples to oranges, like I don't see how Neymar and Mason Mount even come into the same conversation because you're talking about what we need versus what we don't need. We need a midfielder, and I'm not the biggest Mason Mount fan, to be honest with you, but Erik ten Hag wants him. Erik ten Hag likes him. Back the manager. Could we do worse? Yes. Could we do better? Yes. But Mason Mount's available and the manager wants him. We don't need Neymar. We don't need a Neymar at United. And I know that seems a crazy statement. How can you say that? But it goes back to my thing of, so you're saying, Scott McTominay is better than Neymar. Well, they're different positions, and it's a completely apples to oranges comparison. So I don't really understand that logic, to be honest with you. Of course, there are better midfielders than Mason Mount, but it's who Ten Hag wants, isn't it, as well? Talking about the goalkeepers as well. Goalkeepers. Simon Jones from the Mail has said, Manchester United could raise funds for a goalkeeper by sanctioning the sale of Dean Henderson, who is preparing to seal a permanent move to Nottingham Forest. Forest will look at the possibility of signing Dean Henderson on a permanent basis next season. The player himself is keen on the idea that came from Daniel Taylor from The Athletic, as well as Paul Taylor. So it's looking very much like when it comes to Dean Henderson, Forest want to make that move permanent. He wants to make that move permanent. And in a summer in which we need to raise funds, yeah, I'm happy with it. I mean, he obviously doesn't want to be at United. I mean, he said as much in that interview. That he's kind of done with it. Okay, that's fine. Fair enough. I suppose then the question becomes how much? How much can we get for Dean Henderson? After a season, which to be honest, I don't think has raised his stock as much as he probably thought it would. He's had injuries this season as well. How much do you get for Dean Henderson in this summer? He still is English. He still has several years left of his contract, I think. He's signed a 5-year contract when? Was that 2019? So I think it's 2024, maybe something like that, maybe with an extra year. So he's got several years left on it. I say nowadays, because football's mental, ask for 30. Ask for 30. This is Nottingham Forest as well. They're spending crazy last summer. Why not? And even if they say that's too high, then you go down a little bit. But I say 30. I mean, again, he's an English goalkeeper. English in the Premier League, goalkeeper. It's a speciality position. Go for 30. See what happens. Tank says 30. Rocket says 25. All Elite 25. Jason says, I've seen reports of 20. If it was 20, I'd be disappointed. I think that's too low. Ed says English tax 30. 40. Getting some 40s. Almax says 30 as well. I would probably go. I'd start off maybe 30. I mean, if we sold Dean Henderson for 30 million, I'd be pretty happy with that. But you never know with it with Man United. And I was talking to KG about this yesterday. I was talking to him on the phone, and we were just talking about how wild football transfer fees are nowadays. And we were saying that I remember when I was younger, if a player went for 30 million, that was considered like outrageous. 30 million. I remember, was it Shevchenko went to Chelsea? And I think that was for 30 plus. I forget how much that was at the time. And at the time, that was considered like that. This is football's gone mad. Football's gone mad. 30 plus million. What? I can't believe this. I remember when Torres went to Chelsea, 50, and they were like, "This is just, I cannot believe this. Unbelievable." Whereas now we're talking about Dean Henderson, 30 million pounds. We're like, yeah, that's about right for him. Jason says, yes, right. Rio Ferdinand fee when he came to United. That was a shocker at the time. They're going, I can't believe world record fee for a defender, I think it was. You're like, oh my God, incredible. Wasser D says, and then PSG happened. Well, yeah, that's certainly the big sort of spike in the transfer fees was because, speaking of Neymar, that Neymar deal to PSG, wasn't it, with the release clause? What was that, 200 and something million? What was the Neymar thing in the end? Let me remind myself. Neymar to PSG transfer fee. 222 million euros, that was it. So 200.5 million pounds. And because of that, then suddenly there was all of this extra money and it just went, and obviously inflation, blah, blah, blah. But still, like, that's just, even today, that's still crazy. And that was a long time ago now. But, and I remember that caused Barcelona too, because obviously in Spain, everyone has a release clause, don't they? And that caused Barcelona to ensure that all of their other release clauses were ridiculously high. Because, do you remember the nonsense surrounding that as well? That PSG said, right, we're going to activate the release clause. We've got the money to do it. And Barca just went, no, we're not going to let you do it. And it went, well, it doesn't matter. Like, we're just going to do it. And, that was crazy. That was crazy. Bear in mind, remember that they signed Neymar and Mbappe on loan, technically, with a mandatory option to buy the year later, and they didn't break FFP. I wonder how they did that. Incredible how they managed not to do that. Oh, nuts. Oh. Araya says Rooney 30 million as well. Yeah, I remember those prices at the time. Man United, look at how much they're spending. That's incredible. Oh, nuts. And then now 30 million is nothing. If nowadays in the Premier League, yeah, if you sign someone for 30 million and they're half decent, there you go. It's an absolute snip. It's an absolute snip. Great money. I haven't even spent that much. Incredible. Absolutely nuts. Ibro says Neymar bought out his own contract. Yeah, because again, it works funny when it comes to release clauses in Spain, doesn't it? Because you have to go into was it like La Liga headquarters, and the player has to go in and they have to technically buy themselves out of their contract. They have to pay their own release clause or something like that. It's a really strange way around it, I think. And again, that whole saga was kind of insane. It really was. Now that is one. Tank says Caicedo 4 million. That is one where you go, look, fair enough. That's a snip. That was a snip 20 years ago. 4 million's nothing. So there you go. How many likes are we up now? We're still not at 350. We can get to 400. We are now. I've got to do the maths. 55 likes away from 400. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Keeping on the goalkeeper theme, there has been this talk about Diogo Costa. Flex and KG kind of touched on this in yesterday's Flex and KG show. And it was reports coming out of, I believe, Portugal that was suggesting that Diogo Costa could be headed to the Premier League. He's desired by Manchester United, who are open to paying his €75 million release clause. He has played his last game for Porto. I believe they're in a cup final. Is it this weekend or something like that? And they're saying that Diogo Costa might not play. There's rumors of financial issues as well at Porto. So I don't know about that. I mean, when it comes to the goalkeeping situation, it's very clear. Ten Hag said it in that interview that he did with the Times, and this is what's crazy about United too, is that it was such a huge interview and like explosive interview in the sense of he was brutally honest. He was very open on a variety of subjects, Ten Hag. And that was only like a day ago. And it already feels like 7 days ago. With the amount of news that comes out of Manchester United, Martial's out injured, this player's coming to United, that player's coming to United, Neymar, Henderson, whatever. It goes by so quickly just like that. And then suddenly it's like, no, that feels like a lifetime ago. But he did say in that interview that David De Gea is expected to stay, and he does think that De Gea is going to stay. But in terms of being his number one, he can't guarantee that he's going to be his number one next season. And I think that does open the door for us signing a keeper this summer. But a Diogo Costa, that goalkeeper signing, I don't necessarily see being a real high profile signing. I kind of see it as being maybe a developing goalkeeper, or as I mentioned before, a number two that's just a lot closer to De Gea in terms of quality, or maybe has things that De Gea doesn't in terms of, again, the distribution, the quality with his feet, and the ability that if De Gea's not playing well next season, or De Gea's making mistakes, or De Gea's not showing the improvement Ten Hag's looking for his distribution, and frankly, let's not get our hopes up because it's probably not going to happen, then that number two needs to be closer. That number two needs to be Romero-esque in the sense of when he plays, there's not a lot of drop-off, or if anything, in certain situations, he's better. That's what De Gea needs. De Gea needs competition. The goalkeepers that we've had at United this season, they've not been competition to David De Gea. Dubravka or Jack Butland, they've not been competitive. They've been nowhere near David De Gea. So I don't think that we're going to probably sign someone like Diogo Costa. We might. I'm not sure. But I'm given the other priorities that we have, 2 strikers, a midfielder, centre-back, possibly a full-back. I think he might just look at it as that a Diogo Costa might just be too much for us in terms of our budget. All Elite says David Raya. Well, we know how much he's going to be available for, David Raya, and maybe United might do that. Some people saying Kovar as well. That might be the competition. But I do think that we do need to get that goalkeeper in the summer, even if it's not that number one immediate replacement for De Gea. We need to get that keeper that can provide legitimate competition. And to be honest, it should almost be a goalkeeper that's somewhat the antithesis of David De Gea. I have seen us linked to some goalkeepers where, according to those statisticians on social media, that they're just as poor when it comes to distribution or, claiming crosses as David De Gea is. And you go, well, why would we get them then? Surely the number two that we get, or the competition that we get to David De Gea, should be someone that's really proficient with their feet, and then that either spurs De Gea on or he replaces De Gea. That's what we should do. So, but again, this is anything when it comes to transfers at the moment with United is subject to, well, we don't really know what's going to happen with the takeover, or we don't know what's going to happen with, transfer budgets. It's all very much still up in the air. And that is kind of why when it comes to a lot of this transfer stuff, I do somewhat roll my eyes a little bit, because I think, again, it's business as usual for United, and they're just carrying on with all of the plans that they've got in place. But at the same time, they're still like, we still don't really know how much we've got. We still don't really know if these, sales or player signings are even going to be signed off on, because we don't know what's going on above us. Like we just don't. Al Caps is the latest member of the UV Members Club. Welcome to Al Caps. Appreciate you joining. You can also join the UV Members Club by clicking the link in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat. You get your badges, your emojis, your exclusive members only content, and you get you're able to call in to the full-time view, which we'll be able to do this Saturday. Hopefully, I'm going to be speaking to you all after we've won the FA Cup final, not us losing. But either way, you'll be able to call in if indeed you are a member. Al Caps also with a super chat says, Martial gave us life when LVG tried to kill us. And Martial started his career at Manchester United red hot. Obviously, not only the Liverpool goal, but then he scored against Southampton as well. I believe that was like the game after that, I think, when he spun Virgil van Dijk. And again, it's just a shame, isn't it? It is just a shame. A couple of other really quick bits before I wrap things up here. There is some reports coming out this morning from Loic Kanzi, who is a journalist for L'Equipe in France, which would make sense for this story, suggesting that Benjamin Pavard will not renew his contract at Bayern Munich. Manchester United have placed him on top of their shortlist of central defenders. Now, Pavard, as well as being a centre-back, I believe he can play right-back as well. He's usually deployed as a right-back for the French team. He's 27. He's got a year left on his contract, so it'd be a reduced fee. I mean, Pavard, to be honest, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind Benjamin Pavard. I mean, I think that would say a lot about what Ten Hag is looking for his right-backs this summer. Diogo Dalot seemingly is going to be signed to a new long-term contract. It's near enough done. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's improved immensely this season, particularly after the World Cup. So I think a move for Pavard would depend on what Ten Hag's looking for in terms of reinforcements for the right back. He really wanted a right back last summer, but at the same time, I think Wan-Bissaka's done well. And I think, as I mentioned, I think the decisions about right back still, I don't think they've been made. I really don't. I think some people are saying that there's been injury issues with Pavard at Bayern Munich too. So, yeah, again, a lot of this will happen. This will happen a lot in coming up in the summer. So I think given our current circumstances, if we can't get, a top quality right back, then I look at our right back options at the moment, and I'm still fairly happy, honestly. I'm still happy with what we've got, really. Dalot, see, this is the thing, the possibility of getting rid of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka starts in the FA Cup final at the weekend. Does that not suggest he's our number one right back at the moment? Because he probably is. And he has a set of skills that other people don't possess, and Ten Hag's clearly seen that he can rely on those set of skills in those big matches. So I think he's got a big decision to make when it comes to the right back situation this summer. Finally, as well, I mentioned we were just going to touch on this very, very, very briefly. It's being reported, again, from outlets based in Portugal, that Manchester United have entered the race for Manuel Ugarte, who, of course, plays for Sporting Lisbon, plays in the midfield, young. Lots of clubs are interested in him this summer. I believe Chelsea are really interested in him. They see him as a potential replacement for N'Golo Kante, defensive midfielder. So we know that we are looking for a midfielder. We know looking for Mason Mount, but I've seen Flex talk about it a lot, that he not just wants an 8, but he wants to get a 6 this summer. I can't say, again, I've watched a ton of him. I'm not going to be one of those people. Oh, yeah, I've watched him all the time. No. So, but clearly, again, certainly when it comes to the reports, it's clear to see what the priorities are for United this summer. Striker, definitely. Midfielder, 8, definitely. Possibly a 6 as well. Centre-back as well. Possibly a goalkeeper too. So keep an eye out for all of those positions, because, again, I think that... and a right back, maybe, because we keep getting linked to Frimpong, as Greg says. So keep an eye out for all of it. But there you go, guys. An impromptu solo stream this morning. As I mentioned, the Red Room will be back next week, Wednesday mornings, as per the usual time slot. What's coming up tomorrow? Coming up tomorrow, we'll be live once again in the morning. And then plenty of build-up on the road to Wembley this weekend. FA Cup final, Wembley, 3 o'clock kickoff. We're going to have previews, press conferences, special videos. So keep an eye out. You name it. We've got it all covered. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.